Hello and welcome everyone to Is DEI a Bad Word? Uncomfortably Comfortable Conversations. I'm your host, Cheryl Lala, and I'm a retired professional golfer and current consultant in the business world, genuinely curious about DEI and if it is a bad word. On today's show, we have Suzanne Ford, public speaker, trans activist, leader in the Bay Area's LGBTQIA plus communities, and the executive director of San Francisco Pride. Welcome, Suzanne.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you on the show. How did you get started with SF Pride?
Came out about 9-10 years ago. I knew I wanted to do work in the community, and I first worked on the Transgender Day of Visibility and Remembrance committees. But my friend Melanie Nathan in 2017 invited me to a Pride event, and then she invited me to the March with the Resistance contingent, its first year in 2017. So there was a picture of me holding the banner in the 2017 Pride Parade. And so I fell in love with SF Pride right there, and I knew I wanted to be involved.
Yeah. Are there any events that you're kind of looking forward to this year? Is there something special on the horizon?
Yeah, there's a ton. There's a ton of things I was looking forward to. The first thing for Pride Week on Thursday, we're going to have the second annual Human Rights Summit. And we do that with Michelle Meow at the Commonwealth Club. And Michelle and I had wanted to do it. We were scared to death, and we did it last year. We just didn't know if anybody would really think it was important. And it was a great success. So we're doing that again this year at the Commonwealth Club. What we want to do is focus attention. We already have a lot of attention on San Francisco for Pride, but we want to talk about human rights and really concentrate on LGBTQ rights throughout the whole world. It has a global theme to it. We will live stream. People at all the members of Pride all over the world, Pride will know and be watching. On Saturday morning, we're going to do Pride breakfast at Pride, and it's like a lifestyle event. Fitness instructors, mimosas on Saturday morning. Parade's going to be, the parade, and there'll be 300 contingents, 55,000 people in the parade. There'll be, 750,000 people down, That's like my favorite thing. I marched at the front of the Pride Parade. And like I told you, I did it in 2017. I've done it every year that we've had a parade since. And now, because I can go anywhere I want, I go down the parade route and I find families that have trans flags and they have trans kids. And I come over and say, I see Darcy, the drag laureate, and her team at Oasis are producing the main stage on Saturday and Sunday.
Great.
Make sure I get that in there.
Yeah.
So they're the ones tasked with putting the show together, and they're doing. We're deep in that work. The last 2 years, we've had a party on Sunday afternoon at Pride, and we've had it at the Asian Art Museum the last 2 years. But historically, it's been at City Hall. So we are going back to City Hall. That's a ticketed event.
Okay.
And you can go, right now the tickets are on sale. They'll go up in price in another couple of weeks, I think. So you can go in and get tickets for that. But there'll be drag queens. The Compton's Cafeteria play. There'll be some actors from that there, but that'll be a great party in City Hall with all the pageantry of the Civic Center. Also at the event this year, first time we've ever done it, there's an enhanced viewing area. So it's like if you were facing the main stage, it'll be over on your left. That's another, you can get tickets to that. And what that will have that'll have a full service bar in there. It will have some nice bathrooms. There'll be some picnic tables where you can actually sit down.
Yeah.
And, I'm 58 years old, and I have to admit that standing there for 4 or 5 hours in a sea of 350,000 people is hard to do.
Yeah. So,
I hope more people will feel like that there's something for them. There's 2 big activations, though. The first time ever we'll have we're going to have a cannabis activation. Our partner who is producing this this activation is Fig and Thistle. Mm-hmm. They're a retailer here in San Francisco, and their team has been amazing. They're working really hard, but it's going to be called Hot Box. There where you can consume cannabis, and when you have a city event, it's supposed to be a non-smoking event throughout the rest of the festival. But inside there will be a consumption area. There will be cannabis for sale. There will be vendors in there with cannabis products and accessories. And so we're excited. First time ever. We're going to have a huge 18 and over area. It's curated by Angel over at Folsom Street. We've done it before, but we're being much more intentional. It's called the Root of Pride.
Yeah.
And again, so Angel and them are running that event for us, as we want to make sure that those communities know that they are included in San Francisco Pride. And they're actually in charge of really producing those events in conjunction with us. And they know how to appeal to their communities to make sure it's a great event for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's in our DNA. I think it's been hard for us to do that well coming out of the pandemic. We've just been hanging on, and I think we're trying to be more intentional with everyone in our community and make sure that people are seen and heard and that they have a place at the event.
A follow-up for you, anything for like youth and families, as a mom myself, right? Like I always bring my kids to Pride. So what do we have there?
We've had, that's been a difficult thing to wrangle, right?
Yeah.
So this year, what we're going to do is on Saturday. And Saturday, there's 350,000 people came through the gates last year on Sunday. Wow. I think there was actually probably closer to 400,000. And I think there'll be more people there. And I understand that that's a difficult day on Sunday. What we're going to do on Saturday, one of the community stages, Saturday, you'll have the trans stage, you'll have the hip hop stage, and we're going to produce a youth stage. And I hope that area is where families might go. And we are reaching out to groups like Lyric, Taj's Coalition, the San Francisco School District, to name a few. And that's probably the thing where we don't have we're not as far along as I'd like to be, because we didn't know we'd have the space. So we're going to start out walking this year, but I hope that grows into a thing. It's going to be a little hastily thrown together this year. But we're going to get better at it. And I hope we can grow into really a program where we're very intentional about it.
That's amazing. That sounds like so much fun.
It's a magical day. It's a magical weekend. And you want to be a part of it. I understand as you get older, it's sometimes, oh my gosh, all that people and all that. But it's really important, because when they talk about us, when they show us in the media, it does go all, and especially now. Mm-hmm. But my experience as a young person in Kentucky in the 70s, they would show San Francisco Pride on the news, on the national news. Like Walter Cronkite would be like, today in San Francisco. And, they would show you so that they were showing you so you'd be shocked. Oh my God, those people. And this little kid in Kentucky was like, oh my God, if I could get out there, like maybe it would be possible. Maybe are there some people out there that were born like I was, but they know inside they would be this fabulous creature. And I didn't even have the space to say that to anybody. But so if you come and you're part of it, you are continuing that. You are telling, and listen, I think we might have got lulled to sleep and think that it wasn't important. But you think about it right now. You think about what's going on in Kentucky and Tennessee and Arkansas. Think about what that means, that there are not like 100 people saying we can be fabulous, but a whole city down Market Street saying we are fabulous. And us as an organization, we need you to come down there, because when I sit in front of the powers that be and I try to make sure that this organization is funded, I need to be able to say, look how important it is by the number of people that show up. And then when I'm sitting down with a corporation and they tell us that, oh, our people are important. Well, really, are they? Did you make sure they were out there that day, or did you just want a going
to ask you about that.
Yes,
so let's go there. Let's just go right there. Yeah,
let's talk about it.
You hear it a lot. I mean, especially pre-pandemic, SF Pride is very corporate heavy.
Yes.
I heard that a lot. Like, what do you think about that? And what do you say to people who kind of believe this?
Well, I've heard it a lot, because I was on the board, 2018, 2019, and I was the treasurer. And I was learning about the money and how much it costs to put on the production. Number one thing is we're tasked with putting on a parade, and we're tasked with putting on a 2-day festival at the Civic Center that covers many, many, many city blocks. And we have to do that in a professional way. We have to have security. We have to have our medical services. It's not just a riot like it was 54 years ago. We are expected to do more than that now. And I know it's changed. And, there's the People's March. They are still doing that. And if you want that experience, I honor that. When you're faced with what it really costs, and I'll just give you some numbers. The 2-day production, all of it, $3.2 million.
Wow.
Just insurance, medical services, and security is about $1.3 million. Just those things. And then you've got to build the stages. Then you have to pay the performers. It's just a huge undertaking. And then our budget for the rest of the year and for everything else we do is only, and for our rent, all of that in San Francisco, is $900,000 for the rest of the year. So our budget's $4.1 million.
Wow.
But for the whole thing, the 2 days, it's 3.2. So let's be grown-ups. Where are we going to get that? San Francisco Pride is free.
Right.
I told you some extra stuff you can buy tickets to, but when those 350,000 people come through the gates at the Civic Center, it's free. And it will always be free. I would be out of a job if I was here to tell you today that it will cost $100 for each person. That I wouldn't have a job, and the board, and the city, it's in our DNA. It's going to be free.
Right. Okay.
So when we have the discussion, let's start off with that fact first. It's going to be free, and we've got to come up with $3.2 million to have the event and another $900,000 to run the organization. How are we going to do that? The parade contingents, we for the for-profit companies that don't sponsor us but want contingents, we have to charge for those contingents, and that raises money. And then selling booths to vendors at the celebration for the festival, that brings in money. The rest of the money in the past was corporate funding. Okay. And then we got a little bit of a grant from the city, and the city would help us with some of the expenses that the city charges us. I'm glad to say that the city this past year in their budget gave us more money than they had ever got us in a normal. We were the first time ever, I believe, we were in the mayor's budget.
Wow.
And the year before that had been the first time we had been in the add-back budget by the supervisors. Need to raise $2.1 million from corporate sponsorship.
Wow.
Here in San Francisco, there's some corporations that are suffering. But then again, there are other corporations that are laying off people but have billions in earnings this time and have record amounts of cash on hand. So let's not let them off the hook. They're citizens of San Francisco. They should be wanting to support SF Pride for what it means to our community and for what it means for recovery of San Francisco. We all know that tourism is what's going to drive the recovery of San Francisco. What's the number one event in San Francisco every year? San Francisco Pride. So I don't want to let corporations off the hook. Mm-hmm. They are on the hook. They are citizens of this city, and they ought to be helping us pay for it. And it's small, that $2.1 million spread out all over the corporations in San Francisco. That should be small. And then finally, I want to say we did hear you about corporate focusing of Pride. And I will tell you now that in the first third of the parade, there can only be the very, very, very top sponsors at a very high level, mm-hmm. and there's only 4 or 5 of those sponsors. Those other contingents are community, they're nonprofits. There are people like the LGBT Center. There are people like Lyric. There, mm-hmm. There are people. There are like SF Bay Times, which is So we focus the first of the parade on our community, and we say that by the order. And I get a lot of grief from the corporations that sponsor us. Like, why aren't we up higher in the parade? And I understand, but let's face it. This event is supposed to be about our community. And the corporations are guests, and what we really are providing them is a way for them to have their employee resource groups and their queer employees for a place in the parade. And it is, we do want to tell the story that there are corporations. Look at Kaiser. Kaiser has been a vital sponsor of ours, and I think we all in the queer community, a lot of us agree that Kaiser has been very good to our community, and they're the type of a partner, we want to say like, hey, look at what Kaiser's done for us.
Yeah.
And we want to celebrate Kaiser and their leadership.
From the TV perspective, they're only showcasing the corporate, not looking at the nonprofits.
But of course, you know, ABC7 is a for-profit business.
Right.
And they've got to show, you know, they're out selling advertising and they're a sponsor of ours. So I think, and we should be, you know, we should be talking to ABC7 and making sure that more of they're highlighting. But I know that they work at it, and I know that they show up when we do events. They're about the community. I just think we always need to ask them for more. People don't understand this. This is what happens with some of these big corporations, and I don't want to hold their feet to the fire about it because it's wrong. I had two conversations with two super large corporations yesterday, but I was talking to their head of their employee resource group, and what they do is they give those queer employees a very small budget.
Yes.
And then those queer employees come to me and say, we want to be in the parade, we want to sponsor, but we only have this much money. Like one of the corporations yesterday, we looked up their corporate earnings for the last quarter, $3 billion. But they said to me, we really are having a hard time scraping together $15,000. We're in a bad spot because I don't want to say no to that corporation's queer employee because they're part of our community, right? They're trying to do the right thing. One of the companies that we all know, like the right has pulled this. Let's just say they're a big beer company.
Okay. Yes.
You know, I had a conversation with their World Foundation, and wow, like for a trans woman to get to that space. They said, well, look, Suzanne, we do business in all these different areas of the country. And we have to support people on the other side, too. I get that. I'm from Kentucky. I know Kentucky's politics aren't the same as San Francisco. I did ask them a question. I was like, where's the line? Where's the line that you would just say, hey, I don't care. We do business there and we need a relationship with people over here on this side of politics. But if you do that, we just have to say no. Mm-hmm. And it was really funny, the silence in that room. I need their money to give our community what it deserves. But I don't know how much more. Yeah, you know, see, you can just see right there. Mm-hmm. And that's to tell you that I don't know what the right answer is. And I need people in the community to come yell at me sometimes.
It sounds like, you know, just going to Pride, I think one of the things that I've taken for advantage of is like the fact that it has been free. And I haven't thought about all these costs now with the safety and security risks of Pride, right? And so if you go and if half the people that went of the 350,000 last year bought a shirt or donated like $20.
Yeah. If every person that comes to the parade or goes to the celebration would just donate $5, that would be over $5 million. It'd be over my budget. We've got a new way. We tried it out last year. The technology works, but you will see it at the parade. There are going to be roving bands of people with this thing called Tip Tap. All right. And it will have either a $5 or $10. If you tap your debit or credit card, it's a 1.5 second transaction. You'll be charged once for $5, $10. There's ones that'll be at some places for $20. Just look for those people. Please help us. And then I will be more empowered. Got to know that we don't change anything overnight and that the queer community needs to use people like me as we change the system. And so I know it's a weird confluence, I think, of things to say this white trans woman who lived as a white male, that it's a good thing that she's at the table. I'm amazed that I'm sitting here. Now I know what it feels like. I've had, in the last 3 or 4 months, I've had somebody ask me if I know about a cash flow sheet. I've been asked shouldn't I get some more training for budget? And you know what? When I posed as a white man in business, people didn't ask me those questions. They assumed. And even when I maybe didn't have the experience, I got the assumption that I knew what I was doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, welcome to being a woman.
Yeah, like fuck that.
Yeah, right?
And I do want to always acknowledge that cis women have been socialized differently than I was. And I need to talk about that privilege. But at the same time, do not try to exclude me And do not try to say that I'm not a woman and that I don't belong in women's spaces and that I don't belong in the conversation with other women.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about the main woman in your life. We got to know about Miss Beverly here.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
What's the key to this lifelong happiness that you all have had?
We laugh together constantly. Somebody asked me recently, and I said about relationships, and I said, it still happens that I used to over in Marin. Beverly would be on her way home from work, and I would go out to the driveway because I wanted to see her as soon as she got there. And we'd been married for 15 years, and now we've been married for almost 23 years, and I still have that, like, I want to be with her. I can't wait till, when I get home at night and we watch a stupid show or series we're watching, and it's totally stupid. That's my favorite part of the day. We both feel that with each other. And Beverly went through a lot. Like, oh my God, she lost her husband. She lost her husband in a lot of different ways. And, but she's my person. And I think that's the key, is like, really be honest. Is that your person? Mm-hmm. Like, no matter what, if they came home and said, I got to transition and I got to be me, are they your person? Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I've lived this life. My partner recently transitioned, and I think like it's interesting to me because I embrace like their authenticity, and we have been married now, gosh, I don't even know, 11 years together, 15. But the number one thing people ask me all the time is, are you going to stay?
Yes. Do they say, listen, this is, in Beverly, do they go, oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah.
To you.
Yes.
Like, and oh my God,
yes.
you must be a saint.
Yeah. I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean am I going to stay? Like.
I think a lot of people will say, and this is funny because Beverly and I, she has a different perspective. But I sometimes want to say, maybe that says something about me that she stayed. But on the other hand, I will say, I was running towards something, and where was the payoff for Beverly? And other than, like seeing your partner be authentic is so powerful. But at the first of it, like I was running towards something, and she was being drugged to something. Mm. And I appreciate that for her. And she wasn't like us. She wasn't part of the queer community. She didn't have that experience. Yeah. She didn't have out in the cis heteronormative world a bunch of people saying, oh, we want to support you. And isn't that great your partner is being authentic?
Yes.
She was having people going, oh my God, he's going to do what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think I see her different experience, and I acknowledge that. But we worked it out.
And that, everyone, is Suzanne Ford, Executive Director of San Francisco Pride. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for being on the show today. I hope everyone in the audience is leaving here with some tangible insights to create a more inclusive environment for all. Go ahead and check out sfpride.org. Once you're there, you can do a couple of things. One, become a member for $20. You can become a member anywhere in the world. You do not have to be a San Francisco resident, and you get privileges such as voting for the board of directors or voting for the community grand marshals in years to come. 2, you can also buy some merchandise. They've got some great shirts and cups and things that go ahead to support the revenue goals of SF Pride. And also urge your employee resource groups to give more to Pride, to set more aside to make sure that we are funding the goals of SF Pride so it can be a free event for everyone. Thank you so much for listening today. So far, I have learned that DEI is not a bad word. I appreciate you all coming on this journey with me. Thanks, everyone.